purpose of the community treasurer is to maintain and monitor the financial transactions and records of the community. Module 5. Module 5 will discuss how to become a signing officer, fiduciary responsibility, the process of signing a check, financial conflict of interest, and what disbursement quota means to you and your community. Fiduciary responsibility. All treasurers and signing officers have a fiduciary responsibility to SOO. They must act responsibly for the funds that have been raised. All monies raised using the Special Olympics Ontario name belong to the organization and are in trust to the treasurer and signing officers. If you have any questions about your fiduciary responsibility, please contact your district developer or a member of the finance staff. Becoming a signing officer. To become a signing officer, you must be a registered volunteer in good standing with SOO. Complete the form Bank Enrollment/Update Form and a copy of Signature Card and mail them to SOO at 65 Overley Boulevard, Suite 200, Toronto, Ontario, M4H 1P1. Please do not take this form to your local Royal Bank branch. There must be 3 volunteers in the community assigned to the role of signing officer. Signing officers should not be related. All signing officers must sign the signature card each time a new officer is assigned. SOO's financial department will provide you with the account number of the community account, along with the current balance information and any historical records you may need. Checks and balances. It is the responsibility of each signing officer to ensure that they know what they are signing a check for and that A. There are funds in the bank account to cover the check. B. The check is being written for an approved expense item. And C. A completed expense form with the appropriate receipts or invoices has been submitted by the individual requesting a check. Best practices. If volunteers need to be reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses, they must fill out an expense claim form and attach all relevant receipts and invoices. Under no circumstances should a check be signed by one officer and left blank for another signing officer to fill in. All expense items must be pre-approved. Signing officers cannot sign a check for themselves. Checks should not be issued to volunteers without proof of payment being submitted first. And it is recommended that where possible, the community pay all suppliers and service providers directly. The do's and don'ts of cash. Do issue a cash float at a fundraiser. Do issue cash for district team managers for protest fees at provincial games. Do always have 2 to 3 people count cash at fundraisers or registration days. Do always deposit cash as soon as possible. Don't issue cash for any purchase. Don't pay invoices and bills in cash. Don't issue cash for general undefined petty cash. Don't send cash through the mail for deposits. Don't pay out prize values such as 50-50 draws with cash. Issue a check. Don't hold cash in your home or place of business. Don't pay competition registration fees with cash. Issue a check. And don't pay games or uniform fees with a cash, but instead issue a check. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest exists where a member either on his or her own behalf or while acting for, by, with, or through another has any direct or indirect non-pecuniary interest in any contract or transaction that is reasonably likely to be affected by decision of the Community Council. Pecuniary interest. Pecuniary interest is deemed to exist where a member or immediate family member who is a director or senior officer of an organization, is a member of a body, or is an individual with which the contract or transaction is made or is proposed to be made, that has an interest in a contract or transaction that is reasonably linked to be affected by a decision of the committee, or that has an interest in any other matter in which the committee is concerned, and the member will derive pecuniary benefit from the contract or transaction. Non-pecuniary interest. Non-pecuniary interest is deemed to exist where a member who is a director or senior officer of an organization, or is a member of a body or is an individual with which the contract or transaction is made or proposed to be made, that has an interest in a contract or a transaction that is reasonably linked to be affected by a decision of the committee, or that has an interest in any other matter in which the committee is concerned, and the member will derive no pecuniary benefit from the contract or transaction. Quorum. The quorum will not be affected due to members declaring conflicts of interest. Compliance. The question of whether or not a member has a conflict of interest may be determined by a majority vote of the decision-making group. The chairman is responsible for ensuring that all members comply with this policy. Declaring conflict of interest. Every member is responsible for disclosing any conflict of interest to the decision-making body. A member shall, at first opportunity, disclose the nature of his or her conflict of interest, and this shall be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Abstinence from action. Where a member, either in his or her own behalf, or acting for, by, with, or through another, has any direct or indirect financial interest in any contract or transaction that is reasonably likely to be affected by a decision of the committee, and is present at a meeting of the committee at which the contract or transaction is the subject of consideration, shall absent themselves from the room during consideration or discussion of, or vote on any questions with respect to the contract or transaction. Where a member, either in his or her own behalf, or acting for, by, with, or through another, has any direct, indirect, non-pecuniary interest in any contract or transaction that is reasonably likely to be affected by a decision of the committee, and is present at a meeting of the committee at which the contract or transaction is the subject of consideration, shall absent themselves from the room during vote on any questions with respect to the contract or transaction. Disbursement Quota. Annual spending requirement is the amount set by Canada Revenue that a charity must spend on its charitable purpose and activities. For Special Olympics Ontario communities, this means spending a minimum of 80% of its annual receipts on providing sport training and competition opportunities to individuals with intellectual disabilities. Some of the expenses that can be included as part of running our programs are costs associated with running the charity's own day-to-day programs, i.e. equipment purchase, practice facility rental, transportation to competition, administration costs, etc. Education and training for volunteers. Some of the expenses that cannot be included as part of running our program are gifts to athletes or volunteers, social events, i.e. parties outside of annual recognition events.